Okay, in this video we're going to look at, this is Peter by the way, we're going to look at a couple quick features that you can use once you're actually in a Zoom meeting. So I've actually started up my Zoom meeting here. You'll notice that it is actively recording because I have it set, remember, to always record when I'm in a Zoom room. So let's look at just a couple of basic features here. So I want to first look at the audio settings and the video settings, which are down here in the bottom left. This can be one of the most, actually it is the most important tool because there are times where it's not set correctly, so your students can't actually see or hear you. And obviously that's a big problem that we can fix. So first of all, you'll notice that right now my video is off, but I can change that by starting my video, clicking on that button, and now I'm on your screen. By the way, I thought I had my virtual background on, but apparently it's not on for this meeting. We will actually just bring up my video settings for a second. So, yeah. So it is going to download my my Smart Virtual Background package here, and I'm going to show you what this does in just a second. But basically the idea is it's going to replace my background with a green screen. So now I am at the beach. And the advantage of this is that obviously you guys saw that behind me is just a wall, but it does cover up anything that happens in the background. And this can be helpful, I think, for you to kind of protect your own privacy. You know, students can't see now into your home. It also, if you have a student that's going in from a laptop, it can help with their privacy too, because they don't have to kind of show you their space. It can just be, you know, I'm at the beach. So I think that's an advantageous tool to use. Now, I want to also show you the audio button. Oh, and of course, if we want to stop the video, we can do that just by clicking stop video again, and now we're gone. Okay? I'm going to leave the video on so you guys can watch me and watch this nice palm tree as we go through this. So one thing that I want to show you is that we can mute our audio whenever we want. You guys are still going to hear me because I'm still recording over a different piece of software. Now, one thing we can do is hold the space key, and that's going to temporarily unmute us. Okay, once I release it, it's going to mute me again. And of course, you can unmute yourself again by clicking this button. Let's try that again. And now the students would be able to hear me again. Muting on Zoom is actually a huge good skill. I recommend you mute the students as much as possible, and I'll show you how to do that with multiple. Actually, I'll show you right now. You're going to press Alt and M, and if there were other participants in this call, you can also go to Manage Participants, and you can click the Mute All button, and that will actually mute everybody else in the call except you. The advantage of this as a teacher is oftentimes students have noise going on in the backgrounds. And if you mute everyone, then that noise doesn't interfere with your talking, right? So you can always I would always recommend letting the students unmute themselves when they have a question or something like that, but asking them to stay muted while they're not actively talking. That way you don't get, you know, a dog barking in the background for half of your conversation with the student, because that can be incredibly distracting and actually totally ruin the whole benefit of the Zoom call. Okay. Another benefit, sometimes your audio is not working. So what you can do is actually go down here to the left, okay, and you click this little arrow. And what that does is it brings up some options. So sometimes your incorrect microphone is selected. For example, this is a built-in mic, and I actually have an external one right here. And I want to make sure this one's selected because this microphone array sounds terrible. So I don't want to be using that if I have this external mic hooked up, but sometimes it automatically defaults to this one. So this menu can help me choose that. Now, by same logic, you want to make sure that your speakers are correctly selected. Right now I'm over you guys, I can hear over the headphones if you were in a meeting with me. But sometimes the system selects these speakers instead, and that's actually my external microphone. So I obviously don't want that being the speakers here. I'm going to make sure to select this. From this menu, you can also test the speaker and microphone in a little separate window. so that you can make sure that your sound is working, which is sometimes beneficial to do if the students can't hear you. Similar vibe over here in this menu, although most of us don't have more than one camera hooked up. From here you can select a camera. I'm just going to use my integrated camera, that's the webcam on the laptop. You can also modulate your video settings a little bit, or you can choose a virtual background, which I showed you guys how to do earlier. Again, I really recommend that, as you can, now I'm at the beach, I'm not like at home, and I don't have to, really worry about what, I don't have anything offensive on my walls, but I can make sure that I am kind of staying private, and I don't need to show like students the inside of my home because I don't really want to. From here, you can also invite contacts. I obviously have some folks from school that are in my contacts, but generally you're going to only invite people by sharing a link. Again, really important window here is the Manage Participants, which you're going to see appear and disappear as I click this button. If you have students in a waiting room, they'll be up here, so you got to make sure you check that so that you can let in your students. Here's the place where you can mute all the participants or unmute all the participants. Those are both useful buttons. Right, for now I'm going to do the mute. And the other thing over down here on this bar that I want to show you is the chat. So this allows you to type messages to the whole class. And that way you can maybe ask a question in the chat that students can respond to as you're doing your lecture. So then students can respond over there, or students can put in questions over there, which you can then read aloud. And that way they can kind of ask questions while you're talking without directly interrupting you. So that can be a really handy little tool. I also want to show you this. It's a reactions window. You can use this as a quick kind of formative tool. If everybody's got their videos up, you can just throw a thumbs up, and you'll notice it'll come up here in the top left. When you have students in video, you can pretty easily see this. So if you have, say, 5 students in the video, and you're like, okay, throw a thumbs up if you, throw a thumbs up if you did the last homework. Then you could have, you'd look across those 5 students and see that, okay, 3 out of 5 of them did the last homework. That can be a useful tool depending on your chat. Over here we have the buttons to pause or stop a recording. I don't recommend using those. The recording, if you did everything I suggested in the last video, will automatically start when you start a meeting, and it'll automatically stop when you end a meeting. So I think that's really the best way to use that. And the last thing I want to show you guys is the screen share option. Okay, so first of all, you want to make sure this is default. This is on by default, but make sure that only one participant can share at a time. Multiple participants can share simultaneously. That gets crazy. Don't recommend doing that. So I would leave this option checked. And for now, we're not going to worry about the advanced sharing options. So what we want to do is go to this share screen option, and it gives us lots of different options. Okay, so first we have the option to share our whole screen. Now this has its advantages. I actually am going to do this in the next video. I'm going to show you guys a little recording using this. The problem with it though is that if a student is on a small device, it can be really hard to see your entire screen at once. What can be better is, for example, sharing a window. So I could share, for example, this window, which is the Finder window that holds my Zoom recordings. And if I do that, this is what it's going to look like. Well, actually, this is a bad view. So it's actually just going to show the students this window. You see that green around the window is showing them exactly what they're seeing. So this way, this kind of fills the whole screen of the student. It's a lot bigger, it's a lot easier to read, and you can focus their attention on exactly what you want. I'm going to stop this share for now. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a different thing you can do on the share screen. So let's share screen again. And this time we're going to go to Whiteboard. So the Whiteboard actually brings up a space where you can either type stuff or you can draw stuff. And the advantage of this, the advantage of this is, depending on the device you're on, this can be a really useful way to kind of, concept map out a concept, or kind of lay something out for students. You could make a little bulleted list. If you're brainstorming something, you could like work your way through an equation. If you're like, I don't know, a math teacher or something, there are those in the world, I suppose. And the beauty of this is at the end of it, you can actually save your drawing. We can click save right there, and it's going to bring it to this folder. Oh, I suppose you guys can't see that, but it just opened up a folder, and it's actually got my drawing right there, which is really nice because now if I've got a whole problem solved out on this whiteboard, I can share it to the class using Google Classroom or another tool if that's what you use. Okay, I'm going to stop that share and bring me back here. So the last thing I want to look at is what to do when you're done with the meeting. Obviously, at this point, really the step you want to take is just to end the meeting. And if we click that, I'm going to show you what happens. So we're ending meeting. You don't want to keep this meeting running since it's my office hours. I don't want it to keep going after I'm done. So I'm going to end meeting for all. And watch what happens. This instantly brings up a conversion window. And what this is going to do is actually convert the video recording of that meeting, okay, to an MP4 file, which is going to be stored on your computer. And you don't have to, again, if you took the settings that I showed you earlier, you don't have to do anything additional. What's going to happen when this is done is it's actually going to automatically open up this window here, and it's going to have your latest Zoom, which is going to be this one, except inside it will be, instead of all this junk, like 3 files. One is going to be an audio recording, one is going to be a chat. There's actually going to be 4 files in here because we have this whiteboard, and I want to show you guys this. So that has that saved image that we did earlier. And it's going to eventually have an MP4 file that has the whole meeting video recorded right there. Okay? So that's really how to conduct a meeting using Zoom. I got to go because I have a stats Zoom coming up, but that should show you all the basic features you need, including how to eventually convert that recording. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how to upload that recording so that your computer's hard drive doesn't fill up with all these Zoom recordings. But for now, I'm going to stop, and then I'll show you that one. Thanks for watching, and hope you have a good day.